Good morning, everyone. My name is Tammy Sadler-Jones. I'm the Assistant City Administrator, and I'd like to call to order the License and Variance Board meeting for Wednesday, June the 24th, 2015 at 10 o'clock a.m. Board members present to my left is Scott Stokes, the Director of Public Works, and to his left is Eric Randall, the City Engineer. Heather Korn is our Deputy City Clerk, and she will be taking the official meeting minutes. First item is a public hearing. Privilege License Request LIC 2015-10 Beer Wine Package, 1828 Spring Road, JD Flat Shows LLC, DBA Smyrna Food Mart, with Darcit Patel as the agent. Mr. Patel, can you step forward? Good morning. For the record, can you state your name, please?
Yes, ma'am. Darcit Patel.
Okay. And have you received a copy of the city's alcohol beverage ordinance?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Have you read it, and do you understand it? And do you agree to abide by the guidelines set forth? All right. You have completed the prerequisite responsible alcohol sales class? All right. And what steps have you put in place to make sure that your store does not sell alcohol to underage persons?
Well, we do this at all of our stores. Every employee, probably about once every 3-4 months, goes and takes a class just to see if there's any law changes or any other issues. Also, we pay an outside company, and they bring in an underage person and ask for tobacco or alcohol or sometimes lottery, and see if the clerk has made a mistake or not.
Okay.
And, after that, we'll deal with the situation if that occurs.
All right. And any questions for Mr. Patel?
Not yet.
What are your hours going to be at the store?
6 in the morning till 11 at night.
Okay. Monday through Friday?
Well, Sunday it'll be probably about 8 to 10 maybe. Or 8
Okay.
to 9.
Okay. All right. Do you understand that from time to time the Smyrna Police Department does undercover compliance checks to make sure that nobody in your store sells to underage persons?
Yes, ma'am.
And if they do sell, that they will be taken to jail immediately?
They've been aware of that as well.
Okay. All right. All right. The Smyrna Police Department has done a background check, and it revealed no information that would preclude issuance of this license. With that said, this is a public hearing. If anyone would like to speak regarding this issue, I ask that you please step to the podium at this time. All right. Seeing no one. Any other questions for the applicant?
Has the ownership of the store changed?
Yes, sir.
Who's the owner now?
I am.
You own the store.
Just the business, though, not the land.
You own the business.
Speaking to the mic, Mr. Patel. You can lift it up towards your mouth.
What are your hours at the store?
6 o'clock in the morning till 11 at night.
Every day?
Monday through Saturday, and Sunday 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock.
How many other employees are there?
Three other employees.
You know the history of the store?
Yes, I've been aware.
Okay.
Yeah, we got a call from the landlord. So they evicted the last person that was there, and I became aware of the situation when I talked to Jim. And so, we've got multiple stores, and I know the situation, and we try to train our employees properly to make sure this never happens again at this location or anywhere else.
Do you hold a license anywhere else?
Yes, sir.
Where?
Canton, Georgia, Lawrenceville, Roswell.
What are your major sales of this store?
Grocery and tobacco.
Nothing.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, if we don't have any other questions and no one stepped up for the public hearing, I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
Make a motion to approve license LIC 2015-10 public hearing. Privilege license request, beer wine package, 1828 Spring Road, JD Flat Shoals LLC, doing business as Smyrna Food Mart. Darcit Patel is agent.
And I second the motion.
It's been motioned and properly second that we approve privilege license request L1C 2015 beer wine package 1828 Spring Road JD Flat Shows LLC DBA Smyrna Food Mart with Darcet Patel as the agent. All in favor, please vote. All right, motion passes unanimously. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next item is a public hearing, privilege license request L1C 2015-11, beer wine liquor pouring, 45-74 South Cobb Drive, Jim and Nick's Atlanta, LLC, DBA Jim and Nick's Barbecue with Chad Neil Reynolds as the agent. Is Mr. Reynolds here? Okay, can you step to the podium, please?
Morning.
Good morning. For the record, can you please state your name?
Yeah, Chad Neil Reynolds.
And I'll be asking you the same questions I asked the previous gentleman. Have you received a copy of our city's alcohol beverage ordinance?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Have you read and do you understand that ordinance?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you agree to abide by the guidelines?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And you have completed the responsible alcohol sales class?
Yes, ma'am.
And what steps do you have in place to make sure that none of your servers sell alcohol to underage persons at your restaurant?
We have implemented a consistent...
You can pull the mic up so they can get it.
We have implemented a consistent once-a-month class that is taught by myself or the front of the house beverage manager to each of the employees that are serving alcohol. For us, it's more about continuing education and reminding them of the processes and the things to look for.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. And do you understand that from time to time the Smyrna Police Department does compliance checks?
Yes, ma'am.
And if anyone does sell alcohol to a minor, that they will be taken to jail immediately?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Any questions for Mr. Reynolds?
What is your role with the company?
I am a general manager with the company.
Just that store?
Yes, sir.
What are your hours?
My hours are Monday through Friday and also Sunday from 11 to 9:30 p.m. Friday and Saturday it's 11 to 10:30 p.m. Excuse me.
And are all the servers or wait staff, are they permitted to sell?
Absolutely. We actually
have
Yes, yeah, we have a system in place where we don't allow them to get within 30 days of the expiration date.
And what procedure do they go by when they serve? What are their procedures when they serve? In other words, do they ask all the time? Or
Yes, all the time they ask for identification.
Is there any other way to verify? I mean, how do you know that wait staff served that particular customer?
They have assigned tables, and we have 3 managers on the dining room floor at all times. And the assigned tables, we basically will just monitor when alcohol is requested by the guest. We basically just will follow them to make sure that they are the ones placing it on the table.
Talga.
How many wait staff are on at a peak time?
At a peak time, the most that I have serving alcohol will be 14 servers. That would be like a Saturday, which is a little busier, and 1 bartender. So 15 individuals that we're monitoring with 3 different managers.
Okay. And with the three different managers on the floor, are you one of those 3, or is that you?
Periodically. My position is more for both or all 3 departments, so I'll be either scheduled in that position or in the kitchen.
Okay.
Do you hold a license anywhere else?
No, ma'am.
Have you held a license before?
No.
Has there been a history of any issues at this restaurant?
No, sir. No. We've been in business since late 2007 and had no issues.
Thank you.
Yes.
A background investigation was done by the Smyrna Police Department, and no information was included that would preclude issuance of this license. So with that said, this is a public hearing. If anyone else would like to speak, I ask that you step to the podium at this time. All right. Seeing no one, I would like to entertain a motion, please.
I make a motion to approve License LIC 2015-11 public hearing. Privilege license request LIC 2015-11 beer, wine, and liquor pouring at 4574 South Cobb Drive. Jim and Nick's Atlanta 1 LLC. Doing business as Jim and Nick's Barbecue with Chad Neil Reynolds as agent.
Second.
It's been motioned and properly second that we approve privilege license 2015-11 beer, wine, liquor pouring, 4574 South Cobb Drive, Jim and Nick's Atlanta 1 LLC, DBA Jim and Nick's Barbecue with Chad Neil Reynolds as the agent. All in favor, please vote. All right, motion passes unanimously. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
Next item is a public hearing, variance request V15023, allow front setback reduction from 15 feet to 0.5 feet, land lot 335, 0.235 acres, 1558 Sophia Lane, O'Dryer Properties is the applicant. Is someone here from that? Okay, can you step to the podium? And for the record, can you state your name?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Dave Plant, Vice President Construction, O'Dwyer Properties.
Okay. All right, Mr. Plant, can you tell us about your variance request, please?
Yes, ma'am. We have 20 lots off of North Cooper Lake Road, and we had a misunderstanding with my sales representative. There was 4 lots in there that it was very tight as far as house fit. We've gotten all the permits for all the other lots with the house fitting with no issues. This particular house, it was a misunderstanding. I had instructed that there were certain houses that may or may not be able to have a porch. Okay. Half porch, full porch, entry porch. Well, it got sold with an entry porch. Mm-hmm. So we placed the house on the lot, and obviously that would go behind the setback. Well, that put the deck in the buffer, and I know that's a no-no, so we went to the customer and said we have an issue here with the setbacks, and several conversations with the customer to make an alternative that was appropriate and aesthetically pleasing. So we've moved the deck from the original location, which was in the farthest most projection of the rear of the house, and brought it around to the family room, which picked me up 3 feet. And with the front porch allowed, if we're allowed to encroach the front setback by the 5 feet, that is the front porch only. The house and the deck will all be inside the buffer and the setbacks. Then the deck can be put in appropriately, 8 foot by 20 foot, and the customer's fine with that. The only other alternatives was out the side of the house, off across the house from the kitchen, off a study bedroom, which wouldn't have been a good situation. So we're requesting that you allow us to encroach the front setback by 5 foot, and it would just be the porch only. The house and the deck would all be inside the setback like it's supposed to. Like I said, in North Cooper Lake Place, all the other houses have been placed and released for construction and permitted, so we have no issues with any other house or lot. We are developing 11 lots across the street. I've already taken the time to scale every one of those lots and make sure that all the houses will fit, and I won't have to come back here.
Okay.
And out of the 11 lots, there's 2 lots that's going to be a problem, but I've got houses identified for those lots where there won't be a problem as far as house fit. So we've been building in Smyrna for 10 plus years, 250 houses. Never been before you before. So please grant my request.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Platt?
Well, you mentioned you need a 5 foot reduction. Our paperwork says 4.5 foot.
Well, it says from 50 setback reduction from 15 feet to 10.5, and I believe that's what my HLP shows, yeah, 10.5. So, yeah, it'll be roughly 4.5 feet.
Dave, when we met on the site to talk about an alternate variance that you had considered, we noted that the grading contractor had encroached in the buffer. In reviewing conditions since then, and speaking with Joey about it, with our community development group, I'd like to see the buffer that was disturbed restored with native vegetation rather than just sodded with something like Bermuda. Is that an acceptable stipulation for this variance?
Sure.
Thank you.
That was done during development, so not
Yes, I understand.
building.
Not hanging that one on you.
Yes, thank you.
However, one I will hang on you, can you tell me what the progress is with the lots off the cul-de-sac at the end with getting the roof drains to drain to the detention pond instead of through the backyards?
We have installed a false roof on the side of Lot 8.
Okay.
So that has to be painted, and the gutter has to be placed, and then that'll be taken care of.
And was it Lot 9 that's the closest into the back corner? What's the resolution on that?
We piped that to a dry well. That one little 2 by 10 foot little section of roof there. The rest of the house drains to the street. I know you asked to have some downspouts extended, which should be done.
Okay.
I'll check that this afternoon.
All right.
Any other questions?
Not yet.
Okay. All right. At this time, we'll have the staff, Joey Staub, speak in regards to this issue.
Thanks for your
Thank
time.
you.
Joey Stobbs, planner with Community Development. Variance request at 1558 Sophia Lane. Front setback reduction from 15 feet to 10.5 feet. As Mr. Plant said, this request originally had the deck extending into the undisturbed 50-foot city buffer. After some communication, O'Dwyer Properties revised the HLP and brought the house forward so that the porch extends into the front setback. The face of the home will be on the setback line, so only the porch, which is roughly 4 by 8, so 32 square feet, will be in the front setback. And we feel that is a better request. This undisturbed buffer is in the zoning conditions is protected in perpetuity, so that would just not be a viable option. And to make this particular home, which not just this development, but most every development, these homes are being built once they're under contract, and a homeowner has selected a certain home for that lot, which is a good thing. But often this type of situation can occur where a house was chosen that doesn't exactly fit on that lot. So trying to just balance the the requirements of the zoning and the allowing the development to proceed, we feel like this request is has no adverse impact on the adjacent properties, and it's the minimum variance needed to build this house. So we've posted signage. The applicant has notified adjacent properties. I have not heard any complaints. And really, that 50-foot buffer is so far into this on lot 18 that it does reduce the building envelope quite a bit more than the other lots. As he said, all the other lots are either permitted or under construction, or they have been sold already. So this would not be a basis for any future variances in this subdivision. We recommend approval with 2 conditions. Approval of the subject property for the requested variance shall be conditioned upon substantial compliance with the site plan submitted with the variance application dated June 16th, 2015. And 2, the area of the 50-foot undisturbed buffer that was disturbed during mass grading operations shall be restored with appropriate native vegetation, subject to approval by the city engineer.
Any questions for Mr. About to call you Mr. Joey, Mr. Stobbs.
The variance application has a representative's name of Rex Kimball. Who is that?
He's my site project manager.
He couldn't be here today.
Okay. Any other questions?
No.
Okay. This is a public hearing. If anyone would like to speak regarding this issue, I ask that you please step to the podium at this time. All right. If there are no other questions or comments, I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
I make a motion to approve variance request V15-023, public hearing variance request V15-023, allow front setback reduction from 15 feet to 10.5 feet, land lot 335, 0.235 acres at 1558 Sophia Lane, O'Dwyer Properties.
Second motion with the following stipulations. Approval of the subject property for the requested variance shall be conditioned upon the substantial compliance with the site plan submitted with the variance application dated 6/16/2015, and that the area of the 50-foot undisturbed buffer that was disturbed during mass grading operations shall be restored with appropriate native vegetation, subject to the approval of the city engineer. Second that motion.
Mr. Platt, do you agree to the 2 conditions for the record?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you state it in the mic?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. It's been motioned and properly second that we approve variance request V15023, allow front setback reduction from 15 feet to 10 feet, 10.5 feet, land lot 335, 0.235 acres, 1558 Sophia Lane, O'Dwyer Properties is the applicant. All in favor, please vote. All right. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you so much. Next item is a public hearing, variance request V15024, allow rear setback reduction from 10 feet to 5.6 feet, land lot 592, 0.114 acres, 1553 Whitfield Street, the Providence Group at Whitfield Park. Is someone here from that? Okay, can you step forward, please?
Morning.
Good morning. For the record, can you please state your name?
Yeah, I'm Ray Sigmund, project manager, Whitfield Park with Providence Group.
Okay. And Mr. Sigmund, can you please tell us about your first variance request?
Yes, well, all of them are pretty much, they're all the same issue.
Okay.
We've been building these particular plans on Roswell Street and on Matthews Street, and now that we've come to our last 5 Greenbriers that have the same deck dimensions, 22 foot wide by 9 foot deep, when we submitted HOPs with the applications, it was noted that the decks were in the rear setback, and all 5 of these homes are sold. That's why we're requesting a variance that we can still keep the same decks that we've already had on all the other same plans on Matthew Street and Roswell Street, being 9 foot deep.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Sigmund?
I mean, at what point did you determine you had a problem?
When we submitted the application in for permitting and saw that they were actually, these particular lots aren't as deep as the other ones on Matthew Street and Roswell Street, where it hasn't been an issue before. So it was pointed out during the permitting process that the decks were encroaching into the rear setback.
Are these pre-sold?
Yes, they are.
Don't have questions at this time, but I'm still looking.
Okay, all right. And we'll have comments from the staff now, please.
So I'll just give a brief summary of the whole area, because it applies to all 5 lots, which is lots 1, 2, 3, 6, and 7 that are at the intersection of Whitfield Street and Windy Hill Place. During the rezoning process, there was right-of-way dedication required that shifted the property line further into the onto these properties, so the depth of the lots is not as great as in other areas where the same home is built. So they are all they are all face the public road. The front of the house faces the public roads. So lots 1, 2, and 3 face Whitfield Street. Lots 6 and 7 face Windy Hill Place. They have rear access from an internal road, private road in the subdivision, which is Reynolds Walk. And the deck extends over the garage opening, 9 feet. Lot 1, the request is to reduce the rear setback from 10 feet to 5.6 feet. And all of these have a different degree of variance needed, basically depending on the right-of-way dedication that was required. So, where there was a greater right-of-way dedication required, there's a greater setback reduction needed, as that it varies to maintain a straight line on the private side. And there will be street trees planted along the fronts of all of these homes, and lots 1, 2, and 3. The trees planted along Windy Hill Place will screen any visual sight of the deck, which from a visual perspective, I don't think that it will be significantly noticed that the decks extend into the setback line. They'll just look like the same as all the other homes that have the similar deck along Matthew Street and Roswell Street, which the applicant has provided examples of what that looks like. And I've included pictures in my staff report of one on Matthew Street that has the similar deck feature. So, yeah, we've reviewed the request, posted signage, On lot 1, we have not heard any issues brought to us from citizens. So we've recommended approval of that request with the condition that the approval shall be conditioned upon substantial compliance with the site plan submitted with variance application.
Are there any other products out there that you know of that have decks that are less than 8 feet in depth? 9 feet in depth.
I mean, I know that they have built this same home with an 8-foot deck, but I don't know of other style of homes. I don't keep track of every style that they build out there and what it looks like. I just look at each HLP as it's submitted to us, and look at the architectural elevations to make sure that it complies with the zoning ordinance, but not in a detail where I remember every style. Ray could answer that because he builds them all, but so no, I don't know. I just know lot 8 and 9, they have an 8-foot deck, and they will meet the rear setback. But to make lots 1, 2, and 3 fit within the setback, it's cutting the deck by almost 4.5 feet. So have like a 4.5-foot deck.
Okay.
Do you know how this was accommodated on lots 4, 5, and 19 and 20, which is phase 5 in line with lots 1, 2, and 3? Or does the applicant know?
Yeah, they don't have decks.
They don't have decks, okay.
Greenbriers that are on
Yeah, come to the mic.
the Greenbriers on Roswell Street and Matthew Street are plans that get the decks, and they've all been 9 foot deep. They've all been the same. There's only 2 other interior lots, 21 and 22, that side up to the detention pond, which we cut the deck to an 8-foot deck to make that work. Those are spec homes. We are allowed that luxury there, but we've already built all the houses and sold all the houses, and everybody's already been shown those particular decks on Roswell Street and Matthew Street all being 9 foot deep. So the only plans right now that have decks built, these particular 5 houses are all the same ones that have all been 9 foot deep decks.
So somebody doesn't do their homework before they sell a house to make sure it fits, right?
The decks on these particular houses with requirements that we were having to meet because of not being able to bring the house forward anymore, the decks don't fit to be 9 foot deep with the requirements that we have, like Joey said, as far as right-of-way issues up at the front, being it coming off of Whitfield Street and Windy Hill Place.
That's not really what I asked. I can see a hiccup with one, but this sounds premeditated. So
I didn't even find out until we submitted and got the HOP for these houses, which I request the HOP from the surveyor at the time that the company releases the house to me to be built. And at that time, when we get the HOP, that's when I fill out the application, building permit application, and attach it at that time. So we don't have an HOP as far as actual house placement until I request that, until the home is released to me for production.
which has already been sold or pre-sold.
Or it's either already been sold or the company is releasing it to me to build, whether it's a pre-sale or they're releasing it out as a spec. But we don't request the actual HOP from the surveyor with the actual placement where it fits inside all the setbacks until the company releases the home for production.
So you're caught in the middle.
Yes, sir.
What's the significance of 9 feet versus 8 feet, other than the plan says 9 feet, and other than
Well, the
The
9
person's-
foot, the two Hampton plans on the detention pond, that the decks were released to fit inside the setbacks that go to 8 foot. That's not noticeable. But if you go from a 9 foot to a 4.5 foot deck deep, it's very noticeable. And these 5 particular houses are sold as opposed to 2 spec homes by the detention ponds where we reduce the deck depth.
but there's no significance between an 8 and a 9. There's no.
Not really other than the fact that these are sold homes. Yeah.
That's all I got.
I don't have anything else.
Okay. This is a public hearing. If anyone else would like to speak regarding this issue, I ask that you step to the podium at this time. Good morning. For the record, can you state your name?
Good morning. My name is Rodney Miller.
Okay. And you can state your comments regarding this particular issue.
I have an issue specifically with Lot 7, and I don't know, are we to the point where it's appropriate to speak to that, or would you like me to wait? Because I think he was lumping all these together, correct?
Yeah. What?
Or, we're going to make a motion on each one individually.
Yeah. We're gonna.
Okay, so would you like me to wait for discussion on Lot 7? I'll be happy to do that.
Well,
go ahead. And
you're up now.
You're going to
So
do it anyways.
yes.
Okay. I own the properties at 2665 and 2675 Windy Hill Place. I have approximately 400 linear feet of frontage that adjoins this subdivision. And while we don't have issue with the other lots that they're requesting variance on, we do with Lot 7. We have a number of ongoing issues with this development that range from a boundary line dispute that goes back to 2006 that's unresolved, to an issue with the site plan that was approved by the City and Planning Board because there were some pre-planning meetings held that we were excluded from, and the fact that there was no requirement for a buffer to be left between my property at 2675 Windy Hill Place that sits literally on the line with my sidewalks and the deck to my front. This is a quadruplex unit, so I have entrances on the front and the side. So on the right side of my building, I have a deck and I have a stoop that is the front entrance to the rear unit, and I have a sidewalk that is literally inches off of the existing line. And so I brought, if I can find the mouse. Oh, can I just? Yeah. I brought some pictures just to show you, to give you a feel for.
Well, I guess we're going to have to turn around. It's not on this.
How do I enlarge these? Double click.
Should pop up if somebody's.
There you go. That picture is from the deck on the front right unit, standing back to the wall as far as I can get. So from that edge of my deck railing to the side of that building is 18 feet. And that is the Lot 7 where they're asking to build the deck. And we have a number of other issues that are being discussed. Terry Newlowitz is now involved and has agreed to try to help us get some meetings scheduled, because I've been trying since December to get this developer to come to the table and address a number of issues that this development has created for my property that range from loss of privacy from both a screening perspective and a sound perspective to loss in market value of my property and marketability of my property from a rental perspective. We're not opposed to the development going in. We were glad to see somebody buy the land and develop the land, but we're now faced with a number of issues that are going unresolved. The developer has refused to come to the table with us to negotiate in good faith to try to resolve some of these outside of going through the formal process with the city or the legal system. And so as it stands, we're opposed to the variance for Lot 7. If the developer will stipulate to installing a privacy screen on the side of that deck that faces my property to help mitigate the loss of privacy on my property, then we'll withdraw our opposition. If they're not willing to do that and the city will mandate it, then we're willing to withdraw our opposition. But short of that, we're opposed to the variance that they have submitted.
What kind of privacy screen in particular are you desiring?
There are a number of communities around Cobb County that have erected a full, whether it's 6 feet, 8 feet, full screen on one side of a deck because of the privacy issues that are created by the particular development, and it basically allows the purchaser of the property to be able to go out and enjoy their deck without it looming directly over the deck on my property and the front entrance to the back unit of my property. And so in looking for reasonable solutions to the problems that are being created here, that's one of the solutions that we've come up with, so that we're not trying to stop the development, but we've been asking in good faith for some cooperation for 6 months now, and our requests have fallen on deaf ears. So to answer your question, it would be a full screen, and we would like that stipulation to carry with the house, so that when the home's sold, they can't tell the buyer you can just go out and take it down after we've completed the sale.
So a screen, something along the lines of a dog-eared picket fence or something like that.
Yeah, and I'd be happy to go out and take some pictures and provide them to the city for their review if they'd like me to do that, because there's plenty of examples around Cobb County.
Would staff object to that resolution?
I'm sure I understand where the screening is going.
Well, on this picture, that deck is going to extend out, according to their variance request, 9 feet. That screen would be on this side of their home between my property and their deck. So there's a privacy fence.
So a privacy fence on the deck itself, not on the entire property line?
Yeah, on the deck itself. Now, the privacy fence that's there now, that's one of the other subjects of dispute right now, because 65 feet of that fence is on my property, and the front on that picture to the right, there's a 5-foot area in question that goes back to a boundary line agreement that we entered into with Coral Realty and FIFCO Development, that at this point we believe we were defrauded in entering into, and that's an issue that's outside of the city's purview. That's going to be a civil issue between us and them. But the fence is an issue that's going to be brought to question as our issues go forward and we look for resolutions. But in terms of this particular house, and the fact it's a 3-story home, and that's only 2 stories you see there, it already looms over my property. They still have to add the 3rd story and a roof line to that property. So we're simply asking for a privacy screening to be built on the deck itself. Because the other issue is that there's only a 10-foot offset between the property line and the side of that building, which limits the types of species of plantings that could be considered to be placed in there to reestablish some kind of buffer between that property and ours. So I'm trying to look at the big picture here in determining some solutions that will accommodate us as well as the developer.
Does staff, sir?
Here's another picture from the inside of my front unit. So what we used to look out to was trees, and that's the side of that home, and the deck will extend off of the back of that.
Ow.
I think I have one other that'll give you.
So there used to be some trees back there?
Back before the original development, that was a complex of 25 4-unit complexes, and it was covered in trees. And Coral Realty purchased that development, or purchased that parcel, and they submitted their appropriate plans. There was a townhome community scheduled to go in there. They cleared most of the trees on that lot. They erected a new fence on the outside perimeter of my properties and the 2655 building, which is a third quadruplex on that street. On the west and north end of that fence line, they planted evergreens that have had 5 or 6 years to grow and mature. They left a line of trees, and I can show you those trees. They left a line of trees at that original development that were that we were told were being left at the insistence of the city. Now, the city planning department has told me that these trees were never on the tree save plan, so this goes back to our dispute with Coral Realty and the material representations that they made to us at the time that we entered into the boundary line agreement with them. Oh, for crying out loud, I can't get the... I'm trying to get up. Here we go. That's a picture of the original development and the trees that were left. And you can see their black silt fence and their red no disturb fence that they had erected. Those trees we were told would be left. And so since 2006, we've always operated on the premise that if those trees were to come out for any reason, that the city and the developers that they were working with, that they would require some type of buffer be replaced to shield our property from the development. This is the only line on the entire perimeter of this subdivision that didn't have evergreens planted in a screening process. I had contacted the city planning department a month or so ago looking for some assistance to address the branches that were hanging over the fence. I had started a process back in December of communicating with the developer to ask them to prune those limbs, because my tenant was complaining they was dropping those ninja balls down on the sidewalk and it was bouncing off her deck, and I went out and there were so many that it was creating a liability for us from the perspective that it was covering the sidewalks back there. But we had some initial communication with David Carragher of the Providence Group, and then the communication stopped. So I had gone to the planning department asking for some assistance in addressing that issue, and the next thing we knew, the trees were all cut down. Down the whole line, they were cut down, including some at the north end that I believe were on my property. So now we have nothing, and the city plan only requires the replacement of 2 ginkgos with 4-inch caliber trunks. So it'll be 15, 20 years before those trees have any impact whatsoever in terms of providing a buffer of any sort for us.
Okay. All right.
I can give you a little bit of information. This particular lot, lot number 7 that we're talking about, along with the contract for that home, we're already going to be installing trees on that fence line. Leland cypress, cryptomyrtle. That was written into the contract because that particular homeowner also wanted blockage from the fence too. So there's already going to be trees installed on the fence line in between lot 7, on the side of lot 7.
Okay.
But
How many?
the fence, the trees, the overhanging trees, when we started having communication out in the subdivision, those trees came into the discussion because of overhanging limbs over the duplexes. So, I mean, they needed to come out, and then once we met with city planners, it was determined that they were never on the tree save plan. So they weren't required, and I guess from the previous developer, they should have been removed a long time ago before we got in. That was before my time out there. But some of those limbs were overhanging over the previous or the adjoining landowner's property, so they needed to be cut down. But once it was determined that they weren't on the tree save, we were asked to take them out, which we did.
On the idea of the privacy screen or fence on the deck, I guess we're talking on the side of the butts, the adjoining property owner, we're talking a 9-foot long by 8 feet privacy fence on that side of the deck.
Or some kind of screening material or something
No,
like
we're
that.
probably talking something permanent. So is that you can build anything, but is that something you'd entertain?
I mean, just to go down on the side of only lot 7. I mean, I'm not the developer, so I don't really have the authority to approve it, but with a quick phone call, I can get approval from my office to make sure I'm not overstepping my bounds.
Just to be clear, I think what they're discussing is a privacy screen on top of the deck for the 9 feet that it extends out to be.
Oh,
8
just
feet.
on the deck for my lot 7, not on the property privacy fence, but on that particular deck that we're attaching to lot 7.
That's what you're talking about, Mr. Miller?
Okay.
If I may, if I could just clarify a couple of things. Mr. Stokes, this is part of my concern. I've been asking for 6 months for an authorized representative of the developer to meet me on site, to look at the problems that have been created by the development, and to work with us in an amicable way to find some solutions. Now, this is the first that I'm hearing that there's any plans to plant any trees other than what was specified on the plan that was provided to me by the city planning personnel. And
I mean, this is a contract issue with this particular homeowner for lot 7, so the city's not privy to that information because it's in my contract with the homeowner for lot 7.
We agree.
It's not on their tree replant plan.
Right.
We have the replant trees that we're going to put in. These are extra trees that we're putting in for the homeowner that I'm putting into lot 7, just as much as he would like some privacy from lot 7. The homeowner for lot 7 was also asking for some extra privacy there too. I mean, it'll take a little while for the trees to fill in, but once they do, like all the rest of the lelands or the cryptomyrtles, crepe myrtles, once they grow up, they filled in nicely all around the perimeter, and it's going to block. Eventually, it will block pretty much the whole fence line between 7 and 8.
But please understand our position, because I don't have this information. I don't have it to consider or to work with, and I'm not just concerned about lot 7. I'm concerned about the 175 feet of boundary that we have with this development that didn't require any kind of screening be replaced. And so that's an issue that may not be appropriate to address today. Today we can focus on lot 7, that's fine. But without somebody willing to open a channel of communication with us and talk to us and tell us what the plan is, I don't have that information to consider. So I'm left with dealing with what's there and what I can see and what they're doing, and dealing with the fact that I absolutely have been ignored in terms of my requests, both certified mail, emails, voicemails, for someone who could make binding decisions for this company to meet with us. So that's where my position comes from. Okay.
My understanding is from your comments that the fence, and I'm going to say 8-foot fence on top of that deck on the side that faces your property is something that is what you're talking
that's
about.
the issue. We could add to that deck, the 9-foot deep deck, we could raise a privacy fence on the side of lot 7. Yeah, so that's.
That's what you're talking.
Yes, sir. At this stage of the game,
We'll do that.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
But realistically, we've got 3 choices: deny it, do this, or tell you we're only going to approve an 8-foot deck.
Yeah.
And if you're,
We'll put a 6-foot privacy on the side, the left side of the deck, so that'll block off the deck from.
well, my motion may be 8 foot.
8 foot tall.
Yeah. Because I'm 6 foot tall and I could get on my. So I'm thinking 8 foot.
Okay. We'll do that.
Mr. Miller, are you okay with 8 feet?
I am. Yes.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions about the variance 15-024?
I have none.
Well, let's finish this piece.
Okay.
So could I ask Rusty Joey a few questions?
Okay.
So, Joey, you've heard everything went on. Are we in order?
Well, so we've jumped from lot 1 to lot 7.
I know, but
So that condition would be on lot 7, not lot 1. But as long as that meets building code, we don't have an issue with that because it's part of the structure. So there's no zoning issue, zoning compliance issue with that, so long as it meets building code, which that I can't answer. But I would just word the condition that it's an 8-foot privacy structure that meets building code, the IRC 2012, or something to that effect.
And I'm willing to stipulate if the building codes, if we have existing codes with regards to the height of those types of privacy fences for decks, I'm willing to stipulate that we'll accept whatever the standard code is. If it's 7 foot or 6.5 feet or 8 feet, whatever it is, we'll be happy to accept that.
All right.
All right. Okay. Everybody's good. All right. So at this time, I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
Make a motion to approve variance request V15-024 to allow the rear setback reduction from 10 feet to 5.6 feet, land lot 592.114 acres, 1553 Whitfield Street, Providence Group, Whitfield Park.
I second the motion.
It's been motioned and properly second that we approve variance request V15024, allow rear setback reduction from 10 feet to 5.6 feet, land lot 592.011 acres, 1553 Whitfield Street, the Providence Group at Whitfield Park. All in favor, please vote. All right, motion passes unanimously. Next item is a public hearing, variance request V15025, allow rear setback reduction from 10 feet to 6.7 feet, land lot 592.007 acres, 1557 Whitfield Street, the Providence Group at Whitfield Park. Any additional comments you'd like to make about this one, Mr. Sigmund?
They're all the same issue.
Right, okay.
We're all just trying to achieve a 9-foot deck.
Okay, all right.
And they're all the decks are encroaching into the rear setback. So
Okay.
it's the same issue with every one of the
first one.
variance
Okay.
applications.
All right, I just wanted to make sure you didn't have any other comments. Mr. Stobbs, you have any other comments?
No, this is a less intrusive request than the previous request, 3.3 foot reduction. So we've recommended approval with the same condition that approval is conditioned upon substantial compliance with the site plan submitted with the variance application.
Okay. All right. Any questions about this one? All right. This is a public hearing. If anyone would like to speak regarding this issue, I ask that you step to the podium at this time. All right. Seeing no one, I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
I make a motion to approve V15-25 public hearing variance request, V15-025, allow rear setback reduction from 10 feet to 6.7 feet, land lot 592, 0.07 acres at 1557 Whitfield Street, the Providence Group at Whitfield Park.
Second.
It's been motioned and properly second that we approve variance request V15025, allow rear setback reduction from 10 feet to 6.7 feet, land lot 592, 0.07 acres, 1557 Whitfield Street, the Providence Group at Whitfield Park. All in favor, please vote. All right, motion passes unanimously. Next item is a variance request, public hearing, variance request V15026, allow rear setback reduction from 10 feet to 6 feet, land lot 592, 0.08 acres, 1561 Whitfield Street, the Providence Group at Whitfield Park. Any questions or comments about this one? This is a public hearing. If anyone would like to speak regarding this issue, I ask that you please step to the podium at this time. All right, seeing no one, I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
Make a motion to approve variance request V15-026. Allow the rear setback reduction from 10 feet to 6 feet. Land lot 592.08 acres, 1561 Whitfield Street, the Providence Group at Whitfield Park.
I second.
It's been motioned and properly second that we approve variance request V15026, allow rear setback reduction from 10 feet to 6 feet, land lot 592, 0.08 acres, 1561 Whitfield Street, the Providence Group at Whitfield Park. All in favor, please vote. All right, motion passes unanimously. Next item is a public hearing, variance request V15027, allow rear setback reduction from 10 feet to 6.7 feet, land lot 592, 0.09 acres, 2689 Windy Hill Place, the Providence Group at Whitfield Park. Any questions or comments about this item?
This is on the Windy Hill Place side, so the lots closest to Mr. Miller's property, lots 6 and 7. 6 is at the closer to the Whitfield Street intersection. And the right-of-way dedication significantly varies on that side. So it created an angular front property line. So the corner, the homes are not parallel to the street. They're kind of diagonal. So the corner of the lot touches the front setback line. And it does not, and lot 7 adjacent to it shares a little sidewalk. So lot 7 is not all the way forward to the front setback line because of this diagonal front property line. That's the only unusual thing about these lots. But again, ties into the right-of-way dedication and the changing of the lot configuration. So that's all I would say about those two lots. But same request to reduce the rear setback to 6.7 feet.
Any questions for the staff? No? All right. This is a public hearing. If anyone would like to speak regarding this issue, I ask that you please step to the podium at this time. All right. Seeing no one, I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
I make a motion to approve public hearing variance request V15-027, allow rear setback reduction from 10 feet to 6.7 feet, land lot 592, 0.09 acres, at 2689 Windy Hill Place, the Providence Group at Whitfield Park.
Second.
It's been motioned and properly second that we approve variance request V15027, allow rear setback reduction from 10 feet to 6.7 feet, land lot 592, 0.09 acres, 2689 Windy Hill Place, the Providence Group at Whitfield Park. All in favor, please vote. All right, motion passes unanimously. Next item is a public hearing, variance request V15028, allow rear setback reduction from 10 feet to 9 feet, land lot 592, 0.10 acres, 2685 Windy Hill Place, the Providence Group at Whitfield Park. Any comments This is a public hearing.
I do have one additional comment. I'd like to thank Ray for his willingness to cooperate with us on this. And I'll repeat my earlier request. I would like this stipulated that this requirement carries with the home so that the purchaser doesn't close on the home and then take the screen down. And I don't know how we document this, but I'm willing to agree that in the future, if the plantings are forthcoming and they get to the point where they've provided a screen, that with the written agreement of the existing homeowner and us, that we would be willing to agree to allow them to remove the screen. But that would be a future event once we have some screening in place that's providing that privacy that we've lost. Thank you.
Mr. Sigmund?
Yeah, when I build the deck, I'm going to put the screen on it, so I don't see why. We'll let the homeowners know, but if you put a privacy screen on that deck, I doubt that they would take it down.
Okay, all right. Any other comments, Mr. Stobbs? All right, any questions? Okay. This is I already said that. I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
Make a motion to approve variance request V15-028, reduction of the rear yard setback from 10 feet to 9 feet. Land lot 592.10 acres, 2685 Windy Hill Place, the Providence Group at Wheelfield Park, with following conditions. Condition 1, approval shall be conditioned upon the substantial compliance with the site plan submitted with the variance application. 2, the variance request shall also include that this deck on this particular lot receive an 8-foot tall by 9 foot in depth privacy fence, opaque in nature, that apparently from the site plan appears that it should be facing toward the north or to the adjoining property owner. Make that in form of motion.
I second.
It's been motioned and properly second that variance request V15028 allow rear setback reduction from 10 feet to 9 feet, land lot 592.0.10 acres, 2685 Windy Hill Place, the Providence Group at Whitfield Park. It's been motioned and properly second. All in favor, please vote. All right, motion passes unanimously. Thank you so much. Next item is approval of the May 27th License and Variance Board meeting minutes. I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
I thought I saw something.
No minutes.
I saw, no. Got it. I make a motion to approve the May 27th, 2015 License and Variance Board final meeting minutes.
Second the motion.
It's been motioned and properly second that we approve the May 27th, 2015 License and Variance Board meeting minutes. All in favor, please vote. All right, motion passes unanimously, and I'd like to declare this meeting adjourned at 11:09 a.m. Thank you.
Yeah, I shot Chris to you.